Okay, I want to show you how to make the frog out of my book. I was going to finish up my farm creatures, but there's been more interest lately in my garden creatures right now. And so I'm going to kind of flip over and do my garden creatures first. So we're going to do the frog, and I decided I want to do a red frog this time. Rather than a green one with a yellow belly, okay? But when it says green, you're going to, if you want to do the red, you want to substitute for the red. All right, so when it says green in the pattern and you want to do a red frog, just know that that green represents red, okay? So what we're going to do is, this is classified as a intermediate pattern. It's going to be a little bit more complicated. All the frog is pretty much done in one piece. Yes, the entire thing is done in one piece. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do it with basically minimal sewing as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this that way. Alright, so here's how this goes. I'm going to use my 3/8 inch gauge 24 peg loom, but you can use any 24 peg loom, any 24 peg loom, just so long as you use the appropriate yarn that goes with the 24 peg loom. Okay, so it says to start the body, and it goes from the back, I believe, all the way to the head. Okay, now it says to work the 24 pegs, work it circularly, and to start off with your green, which for us is going to be a red. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to draw string, cast on 24 pegs. So it's the usual weave in and out all the way around in your red yarn. Push that down. Okay. Then we're going to finish the drawstring cast on. Now what it says to do is to knit for 3 rows. Okay. Then you're going to start doing a half and half on your covering. Okay. Okay, we've made it around. What you want to do is pause the video and knit for 3 rows. Alright, and then we'll be ready to do what I call kind of a half and half. So you're going to kind of be working with your yellow yarn while working with your red yarn at the same time while working in legs. It's a challenging pattern, but I think that you'll like the results when it's done. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and knit for 3 rows, and then when we come back we'll be ready to do row 4. Okay, okay, so we finished rows 1 through 3. Now we have row 4, which it says to knit for 16 rows, change color to yellow. We're not going to cut our red, so you know. Alright, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. Okay, and it says to change to yellow. Okay, and we're not going to cut our red yarn here. Okay, So I'm just going to half knot it, go down, and half knot it again. Okay. Now, what I might suggest, since this is kind of working color, this makes it a little easier. So you're going to knit for 8, and you're going to kind of weave in and out, and what that'll do is keep it from getting too loose. Okay. You don't have to do this, but it really helps with big color sections to just kind of flip back and forth so that you don't have a huge chunk to deal with later. Alright, here we are, back at our beginning. Okay, because what it says to do now is to pick up your red. Alright. So, we finished row 4, and what it says to do now is to pick up your red. And it says to change to green, of course working with red instead of green. And it says that you're going to work a back leg immediately. And you want to kind of read over it before you start. It says knit 4 for 40 rows, knit 1, then it says toe, knit 2, 10 rows, bring original loops back, knit 2 together 2 times, and then you're going to knit 1, and then you're going to knit 4 for 3 rows, okay, and then you're going to do a toe and a toe. So parentheses tells you a section you're supposed to go back to, okay. And then you're going to knit 4 for 40 rows and then bring original loops back on pegs 1 and 4. That's significant. Bring original loops back on pegs 1 and 4. Alright, so here's where this is important. Pegs 1 and 4. So, we're using 4 stitches to create our leg. So we're going to go stitch 1 and stitch 4. These are your original loops to bring back when you're completely done. Now I'm going to show you how to do this in such a way that you don't have to sew up the leg later. You ain't going to want to sew up the leg later, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so now that we know that we are going to be bringing those original loops back when everything's set on done on pegs 1 and 4, we know that's what we need to do. Now you're going to want to put a time slot on this section of the video, because when it tells you to do the back leg again, I'm not going to refilm this. I'm just going to tell you, go back and repeat it. Okay, so put your time marker here to start a back leg. Alright, so I'm not going to show you all 40 rows because, you know, a frog leg takes up a lot of length. Alright. So here is row 1. Now, for every slip stitch you do, you need to add you a stitch marker. Alright, so I'm going to be slipping this stitch. Alright, now you can do it as written and just sew up later, but I find when I'm working on something this small, I don't want to mess with it. And it's actually more secure if you do it this way. But you don't have to. You can do it exactly as written. Alright, so I'm going to slip this first stitch. And this is going to be row 2. Okay. And then I'm going to be slipping that stitch, so I need to put another stitch marker in. For every slip stitch, put a stitch marker. This is going to be row 3. It's going to look like a mess in order to do 40 rows. Okay, so when you go to do the next row, try to take your working yarn up under your stitch marker. Right, and what that's going to do is allow you room to pull it back later a little easier, because you're going to be connecting as we go. And trust me, as little sewing as I like to do, we really are making this to where it is hardly going to be anything to sew up. Okay, so this is going to be row 4. All right, you're going to place it up under, you're going to pull it up under and give you more room to pull back. Okay, so that's row 4. And you're just going to keep going until you have a total of 40 rows. All right, then we'll be ready to start working our toe area. So go ahead and pause the video, complete 40 rows. I would suggest you have a row counter. It'll make a big help on this, okay? So 40 rows, and when we come back, we'll be ready to do the next section of the leg, which is going to have the toes involved, all right? And that should make it a little easier to understand, because your toe is a whole nother short row section within a short row section, which is what makes it complicated. So pause the video, get your 40 rows done, and when we come back, we'll be ready to start the toe section. Okay, I have completed 40 rows. Whew. You can see that looks like a mess, but let me tell you, that mess will make it easier. All right, trust me, it'll make it easier. Okay, so what we want to do next, I seem to have lost my hook. What we want to do next is we've done our knit 4 for 40 rows, and then we want to knit 1, and then we're going to start a toe, and that's where you're going to need some more stitch markers. So yeah, you end up needing a lot of stitch markers for this pattern. Okay, so what it says to do is to knit 1. Well, we do a slip stitch here, so we'll just leave it. Okay, but if you're doing it sew up, go ahead and knit that stitch. All right. Now, if you're doing this and slipping and everything and you want to sew it up later, you can do the slip method and sew it up later. You'll have a nice clean chain to sew from. Okay, that's another option for doing it without all the stitch markers. Okay. All right, so it says to knit 1, so that counts as 1 right there. Sorry, that counts as 1. All right, so then it says you're going to do toes. You're going to knit 2 for 10 rows and bring original loops back. So what does that mean? Get your stitch markers ready. So there's 1 and 2. Stitch markers are endless. Oh my gosh. All right, so you're going to knit for 10 rows. So here is row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, you're going to find your 2 stitches. It should be easy because there's no other stitch markers down there. Okay, so that should be easier. So you're going to bring those original loops back because this is a separated area in the parentheses. Okay, so bring your original loops back. knit 2 together 2 times. So here's 1, and here's 2. Okay. Then it says to knit 1. Okay. So then it says to knit 4 for 3 rows. Okay. So you can go and you can do row 1. Row 2. And you can actually put that one right back on. Okay, on the end. And row 3. Now, if you don't want there to be a chain showing up, you're going to want to purl the 2 together rather than knit. But if you don't care, one way or the other, you can knit the 2 together and you can have a chain showing down the side. But if you want it to look more like the image I have, I suggest you purl. Okay, so we've done our 3 rows, and now we're ready to do our toes. Okay, you're going to do the toes exactly the same. So you're just going to do them, you're going to do 2 of them. Okay. So you're going to do 2 here and 2 here. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, complete a toe here and a toe here, repeating what we just did, where you knit 2 for 10 rows, bring the original loops back, knit 2 together 2 times. And then you're going to do the same thing over here, knit 2, 10 rows, bring original loops back, 2 together 2 times. Alright, and when we come back, we'll be ready to finish up our leg. Okay. Okay, I have completed my toes, and let me see if I can show you where those are. Alright, so there is toe 1, and there is toe 2, and there is toe 3. You should have 3 toes. There you go, 1, 2, 3. Alright, so now it says to knit for 40 rows. Okay, and so what you're wanting to do now is go over here and find your next closest stitch to the peg. So this is your next stitch holder to the peg. You're going to pick that up and put it on the loom. Okay. Alright, then what you're going to do is you're going to slip and knit over. Now if you're doing the other way, you can just literally knit for 40 rows. If you're just going to want to sew it up, okay? So you don't have to do this method, although I love this method personally. It just means I ain't got to worry about sewing up a really thin leg later. Okay, so you're going to find your next closest. You could do that one, but we're going to do this one. So you're going to bring that up. Okay. And again, if you don't want it to be a chain on the side, you can always purl the stitches together. Okay, I'm just going to knit them together. Okay, so then you're going to find the next closest stitch to the peg. Okay, there's your next closest stitch to the peg. You can pull it up, put it on. Slip that first stitch, knit your way over. I'm going to knit the two together. There's one, and there's two. And then you find your next closest one, which is this one, and you put it on. Okay, you should be getting a feel for what you're doing here, and you're just going to continue this all the way back until you're to your last two stitch markers. Okay, when you're down to your last two stitch markers, then you want to come back onto watching the video. Okay, but what you should be starting to see is an actual, let's see if I can get this up in here. You should be able to see it starting. And it's starting to connect on the side. Now we've only done a few rows, but you want to continue. So go ahead and pause the video and continue adding your stitch markers up the side. And then when we come back, when you're down to your last two, then we're going to come back and take a look at what we've got and finish up our leg. Okay? Okay. We finished our leg. Alright, so you can kind of see what you got here. And what you may want to do is take several say pipe cleaners and stuff and tape them together, and you can shove them down in there and you can adjust the legs how you want. But let me see if I can find a way to show you that what we've just done is actually closed it off. I think a crochet hook will be a good choice. Okay, so this is a crochet hook. Watch this. Stick it down in there. See? So that's what I meant. You can do some pipe cleaners, and you can tape them together and stick it down in there, and what that'll do is allow you to be able to bend the leg whichever way you want. Okay, but you can see you don't have to sew up anything after doing that technique. Now I always think that is super cool that you don't have to do anything when you do that. Okay, so I'm going to finish up my leg, and here's what I've ran into. I have 3 left. If you're sitting there like, oh gosh, what the heck am I supposed to do? There's another notch right here that you can pick up and put on, and then you're just going to have to ignore that and just put the last 2 stitches on, and it's not going to make that big of a difference. And then knit the 2 stitches together. 1, 2. Okay. Then at this point, you can just go ahead and release that extra one. It's not a big deal. Make sure I'm doing this the way I want. Yeah. Okay. So you bring the original loops back on this one, and this one over here. Alright, so about to finish up our leg, and what it says to do is pull the original loops back on the 1st and 4th stitch, and then we're going to knit 2 together, knit 2, and knit 2 together. Alright, now what it says to do after you do your first leg which is kind of a mess, but you'll figure it out. Then it says to knit 8 and then do another back leg. Okay, so now we're going to knit 8. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, then what you're going to do is in the next 4 pegs, you're going to do your next leg. Okay. So what you want to do is put a stitch marker on your first and last peg of the leg. And then you're going to go back into the section of the video where I started this, and you're just going to follow it through again. And then when we come back, we're going to start showing you how I go in and do not quite a half and half, but it's a colored chunking. Because you'll notice that where's your yellow yarn, it's over here, and you're fixing to knit it over here. I'm going to show you how this works, because if you go in and you look at rows, when you finish row 5, you're going to be starting row 6, and that's where you're going to be changing color. Oh, I don't have knitting 2 together after I brought my original loops back, and that was supposed to get you back to square 1. So I apologize there, I made an error there, but you can do the same thing and it's not going to be a big deal. You're just going to need to add a row 2, and you're going to do 6 through 21 is going to be knit 16 in red or green and knit 8 in yellow, and that is for several rows. Okay, but go ahead and pause the video, complete your other leg, and then when we come back we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, so you should have 2 long gangly legs when you're done with that, and then we'll be ready to start our next section, and I will tell you how many rows that'll be on your color chunking. Okay, we have 2 legs done. Okay, as you can see, there's 1 and there's 2, and there's no sewing involved. Okay, and so we finished our leg, and now it says we need to change color to yellow, and this is where the color chunking is, because it's not exactly half and half, it is chunking the colors in such a way. So what you want to do is you want to pick up the yellow that's over here, and you want to knit your way over. Okay, alright, so here is the change color yellow, knit 8. So here's knitting 8. Alright, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What do I have? 9. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For some reason I have 9. We'll go with it though. Alright. It's supposed to be 8. If you ever come into something where it's one off like this, usually you can just go with it. Alright. So here's how this runs. You are going to go to row 7 through 21. Okay. So you're going to be doing this color chunking for approximately 15 rows. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose a color to always go under and over, okay? And red is always going to be the one to go over, under and over, okay? And so what we're going to do, under and over, and you're going to knit your way around, okay? And this is going to be row 1 on that, okay? So the best way to keep up with it is when you meet back here, you've done 2 rows, okay? And that's how you'd probably want to keep an eye out on where you're at on things, okay? Now I'm 1 off. Don't know how I got there, but I'm 1 off. But it's not going to change it up that much to be 1 off in that particular area, so I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to start over, I'm just going to leave it. Okay? And if I really want to adjust it, it's not difficult. But I don't feel the need. Okay? I'm teaching you how to kind of go with the flow. Alright? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to pull this over. What that does is it's going to tighten it up. And you see what it's doing right there? That's what you want. Alright, so then it says to change color and knit yellow. Okay, so here we're knitting our yellow. Alright, and this is row 1. Okay. Now again, what you want to do when it comes to this is you want to go under and over. No matter what you do, you want to go under and over on that same color. So on the red, you go under and over. So go ahead and knit your way around. I'm showing you how this works from both sides, and then you're going to continue to do that for a total of 15 rows, and that means you should be ending up back over here with your connecting colors, okay? Okay, knit our way around there, and you come back over here, you pick up that yellow, and you knit your way over. Your connection between those 2 colors should be extremely smooth. Okay, this means we've just done 2 rows, okay? So we've gone over here, which is 1 row, and we've gone over here, which is 2 rows. That's how you know you've done 2 rows, okay? Well, it's a total of 15 rows, so when you pause the video and you keep going with this process, you're going to want to be ending up over here, closer to your starting point right here. Now remember the rule. You want to go under and over. So, you're going to go under and over and work your way back. Okay? So pause the video, get your 15 rows done, and we'll come back and we'll be starting the next section, which is going to include the front legs. Alright, and then we will go from there. So that's row 22. So works row 27 through 21, and when we come back, we'll work row 22. Okay? All right. So here is my frog. It's kind of funny, isn't it? Long legs. All right. And there's my tummy patch, all right? And so here we have done our 20 rows, all right? Now, what we have next is, gotta find my spot. Okay, we've done rows 7 through 21. Now we're on rows 22. And it says change color to green. And then it says to knit the front legs, which is gonna be different. Okay, so the front legs aren't going to be near as long as the back legs. Okay, so here's where we're at. We're going to pick up our red, all right? And so we're changing color to red, and we're going to do our front leg. Now, we want to read over that. The front leg says knit 4 for 16 rows, knit 1, then do a toe for knit 2 for 10 rows, bring original loops back, knit 2 together 2 times, and then knit 1. Then it says knit 3 for 3 rows. I think that's supposed to knit 4 for 3 rows. So I'll make a little note. Although if you slip one side and the other, it'll be knit 3 for 3 rows. Okay, then it says do a toe and a toe, and then it says to go back knit 4 for 16 rows, bring original loops back on pegs 1 and 4. All right, so we know what we're doing. Pegs 1 and 4. All right. So I'm gonna get in here and do our thing. And we're going to do the same thing that we kind of did with here. We're just going to do 15 rows rather than 40. Okay. And to keep that yellow out of the way, I'm going to just pull it over here. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to knit for 15. So here is row 1, 14. So here is row 1. Right. Now, remember what we've been doing is we've been slipping the stitch. Okay. So we're going to end up slipping that stitch, so we're going to go ahead and place a stitch marker in there, and then we're going to do row 2. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you to do is go ahead and pause the video and do basically just like we did on these legs here, but you're not doing 40 rows, you're doing 14 rows. Okay, so it's going to be a lot shorter, and you'll notice that in the picture and the pattern book. Okay, that it's going to be a lot shorter. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to pause the video and complete your 14 rows. So this is going to be row 3. And I'm going to add another stitch marker, and this will be row 4. Alright, so keep going for another 10 more rows. Then when we come back, we'll be ready to start our toes. And continuing on from there, okay? Just go ahead and pause the video and complete 10 more rows, and we'll be ready to start on our toe section, which should run exactly the same as this one, I think. 2 toes, then, no, 1 toe and then 2 toes. I think in the first one it was, yeah, 1 toe and 2 toes. So the toes are going to be the exact same, but we'll show it again. on the front leg since the front leg is different. So go ahead and pause the video, complete 10 more rows on top of the 4 rows we've already done, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the toes, and then finish up that leg, and then we will go in and progress on with row 22, and then we'll actually be starting to work down on the head. Okay. So we've done our little messy thing here. It's not as messy as the last one because it's only, what does it say, 16 rows rather than 40. So that makes a big difference. All right, so we've done our 16 rows, and now it says to knit 1. I'm going to go ahead and slip that stitch. And if you're following, you can follow it exactly right. You knit 1, and then you're going to do a toe where you knit 2 for 10 rows and bring original loops back. Okay, so what that means, you're going to knit that one. Alright, and I'm going to put these on here just like this. Alright, now, because I keep slipping those end stitches, and plan on bringing them back, I'm going to help myself out and not mess with that stitch. So, but if you're doing it the other way where you just knit 16 rows, go ahead and knit that one and then do this process, okay? So we're going to knit 2 for 10 rows. So here's our 2. So there was 1, here is 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's move the camera up since I keep wanting to go up. 9, and 10. And it says to bring the original loops back, which should be easy because they're in the middle of the section. Now knit the 2 together, and then you will knit 1. Here's 1 and 2. Knit 2 together 2 times, and then knit 1. Alright. Then what it says to do after you have completed your toe, you're going to knit the 1 like we did. Then it says on here, it said knit 3 for 3 rows, but you're going to knit 4 for 3 rows. Alright, and then we'll be ready to do a toe. So there's a minor error. If you're slipping and knitting, you are going to knit 3 for 3 rows, but it's knit 4 for 3 rows. So here is row 1. Row 2, and row 3. Alrighty. Then it says you're just going to repeat those toes for the next 2 slots. So you're going to do a toe in these first 2 and a toe in the next 2. Alright, you're creating 3 toes. Okay. So what that means you're going to do is you're going to knit 2 for 10 rows. So there is row 1. Here is row 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Bring original loops back. Knit 2 together 2 times, just like a toe is supposed to be done, and do another toe in the next 2 slots. Alright. So here is knit 2 together once, and here is knit 2 together twice, 2 times. Right, you've created a toe. Then what you want to do is go in and do another toe in the next 2 slots. Okay. And I hope you've marked your spot in this whole tutorial for the front legs, because I'm not going to show a repeat on the other side. You're just going to do the same thing. Alright. So you're going to got a lot of the yarn knots up. Okay. Knit 2 for 10 rows. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bring the original loops back, which are the closest ones to your pegs, if you ever have a hard time with that one. And then you're going to knit 2 together 2 times. Get your toes done. Then it says to knit 4 for 16 rows. And this is where you're going to start adding those stitches back. Okay. So you've got your toes done. Now what you want to do is you want to find the next closest stitch to this peg that you've got on a stitch marker and add it back to the end stitch. If you don't mind a chain like that, you can knit the 2 together. If you don't want a chain, you can purl the 2 together. Alright, so we're going to knit our way over. And this is row 1 Find the next closest one with a stitch marker on it, add it. And this is row 2, and if you're not doing this method, you just do like you did before. Knit 4 for 16 rows, if you don't mind sewing. Okay, so we've already done this process with the back legs. You're just doing the same thing with the front legs, it's just shorter. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video until you're down to your last 2 stitch markers, and we should be ready to finish up this leg and progress on to the next one. Okay, let's go ahead and pause the video and finish up this leg, and then we should be good to progress forward. Okay. So, pause the video, finish up this leg, and we'll be back to show you the next section. Okay, so we basically completed our other little leg here. And we finished over here, which means we're down to our last 2, but what you want to do is there's a little notch right below that, and you just pull that one up, and you can knit your way over, and that way you'll be ready to add your original loops back. Okay, so add your original loops back on pegs 1 and 4. Knit 2 together, then knit 2, and then knit 2 together. Alright, so knit 2, then knit 2 together, and then knit 2 together. Okay, so we now have completed our leg. Right, there's our little leg. If you want to know if you got it right, you can be able to stick a little crochet hook in there and see what you got, and you see that you have it. Okay, now let me go back. Okay, so bring original loops back on pegs 1 and 4. Okay, and then it says to knit 8, do another front leg, and then change color and knit 8. So basically what you're wanting to do, for some reason I'm not knitting the 2 stitches together. So if you're knitting the 16 and you end up on the opposite side, just bring your original loops back. You can knit the 2 together on the next row. Okay, so you're going to knit your way over to start the leg over here. Okay, which they say is, let's see, which the pattern says it's 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's your 8. Then you're going to repeat the leg and these 4 pegs over here like we just did. So you'll need to go back in the video where I start the front leg and repeat the exact same thing we just did. Then it says to knit 8 on the yellow, and that's easy. You can just go ahead and do that right now, and that way it'll be already over. So you can go ahead and pick up that yellow and just knit over 8. Okay, and that way it's done. Okay, there. Okay, so go ahead and repeat your other leg. which is your other front leg. And then on row 23, you're going to get these leg stitches back down to a single stitch on that red area, the green area, which is where it says knit 2 together, knit 2, knit 2 together, and then it says to knit 8, and then knit 2 together, knit 2, knit 2 together. That's that leg area, where somehow on my system I've managed to get it to where I don't have to do that. You just do it. If you've done it the way that I've written it, where you knit 16, knit 4 for 16, and you bring your original loops back, you will probably need to do this row. And all you're doing is getting all your pegs with 2 stitches on it back down to 1 stitch. And then you change color to yellow and knit 8. Okay, so that's what you're doing after you finish up this row, which is row 23. And then we'll be ready to start the next section, which is the top of the head. And that's where it gets kind of funky and confusing, and I'll make sense of it for you. So go ahead and pause the video and get yourself to row 24, okay? And we'll come back and start working on the head area. Okay, so here's your little frog. It's kind of funny, giving birth backwards, I guess you could call it. So I've already done my row backwards to kind of get everything back to square one. Okay, so that would have been row 23. So now we are to row 24. All right. Now, remember, we want to be able to do where it is attached. Okay. So we're picking up our red or your green. And what you're going to do is you're going to knit 15 and you're going to wrap and turn. So here's row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. Push all that down, wrap, and turn. Alright. Then it says to knit 14 and wrap and turn. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wrap and turn. Wrap and turn. Okay, then it says to knit 13, wrap and turn, knit 12, wrap and turn, knit 11, wrap and turn, knit 10, wrap and turn, knit 9, wrap and turn, knit 8, wrap and turn, knit 7, wrap and turn, knit 6, wrap and turn. Then knit 6. Alright, so your goal is to get down to where you have a whole bunch of wrap and turns between 6 single stitches. Okay, so we are now knitting 13 to wrap and turn. Okay, so you're going to knit your way over to just before your last wrap and turn. You're going to wrap and turn the next peg. So you should have 2 wraps and turns over here. Then you're just going to knit your way over and do the same thing on the other side and just continue until you have 6 single stitches in between your wraps and turns. Okay, so I'll show you how to get one more wrap and turn in, then I'll tell you to pause the video and get this section done. Okay, so wrap and turn and then keep going. Okay, pause the video and get yourself down to 6 single stitches between your wraps and turn pegs. Okay, so we just finished row 29. What it should look like. You should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wrap and turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single stitches. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so now what we're ready to do is we're ready to start with the peg we've finished with. Knit 6, knit 2 together, knit 7, knit 2 together. You see a pattern, and you're going to do that until you have gotten all your wraps and turns added back in. Okay, so at this point we're working the top and the bottom of our head separately. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to knit 6. All right, and then you're going to knit the 2 together. Okay, then you're going to knit 7 back the other direction, when starting with the peg you finished with, and then knit 2 together. Okay, and you're just going to go back and forth, adding 1 wrap and turn in on each side. Here's our next one. Okay, and then you're going to go back and add the next wrap and turn. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and get all your wraps and turns added back in, and that should put you back on row, when we come back we'll be on row 40 that we'll be starting with. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and get your wraps and turns added back in, and then we'll come back and do the next section of the head. Okay, we've added all our wraps and turns back in, and we ended up on this side. Okay, now where it says we're on row 40, and what you want to do is you want to decrease over, tighten that up. So basically it says to decrease, knit 2 together, knit 12, decrease, knit 2 together. Okay, and what that means is you're decreasing on the ends. So you move those ends over on just the red section, alright? So that's what we're focusing on. Then it'll tell you to move to the yellow section when we're ready for it, okay? So we are going to go back to that. But in the meantime, you're going to decrease, knit 2 together, and then you're going to knit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then it says to decrease, like we already did, and knit 2 together. Okay, and it says to do it again. Decrease, go to the other side, and decrease. And then it says to decrease, knit 2 together. So here's our knit 2 together. Then it says to knit 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And it says to decrease and knit 2 together. So you see the pattern that we have going here. So you're going to continue that pattern until you are down to 6 stitches total. Okay, so you want 6 stitches left, and then we're going to do a bind off. So keep decreasing until you have 6 stitches left on your red half or your green half. Okay, so here we are to our last 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so what it says to do is to just bind off. So we're ready to bind off. We're actually almost done with the knitting section of our frock here, okay? So we'll just have to do the other half. Okay, and then we'll be ready to start doing what little sewing there is and stuffing and adding eyes and that kind of thing. Okay. Okay. Then we'll be ready to go to our other half of the head, which is the bottom half where the mouth is. And then I'm going to cut me kind of a long tail so that I could probably sew up later. Alright. So, pull that out. You can kind of see the head. Frogs. Even frogs are always kind of funny to me. Okay, so we are now switching to our our yellow section here. Okay, so it says to knit for basically 10 rows, it looks like. And you're going to do a decreasing section. Okay. So rows 23 through 34, it says to knit. That's basically 10 rows. Then rows 35, you're decreasing, and then for 2 rows you knit, and then you decrease, and then for 2 rows you knit. Okay. So go ahead and pause the video and complete going back and forth for 10 rows. Okay, so here is row 1. So back and forth for 10 rows. Okay. And we're to the next page where it says that we need to decrease, knit 4, and then decrease. So you're decreasing on your ends. And then you're going to knit 2 together and then knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, knit 2 together. Then it says to knit for 2 rows. So here is row 1. And row 2. Okay, and then it says to decrease again. Okay. And then it says to decrease, knit 2 together. Knit 2, 1, 2, decrease, knit 2 together. And then it says to knit for 2 rows. So here's row 1 and 2. And then it says to bind off. So we're going to bind off. And then stitch over. Cross the bottom loop over. Okay. At this point, we'll be ready to assemble. You are not going to want to sew this mouth up until last of all. And the reason being is you want to get those legs stuffed first, then the body. Cut a little thing. Okay. I know this is one funny looking thing there. You see that? Do a dancing frog. Okay. You have a couple of choices. You can just stuff the legs. But because I want to kind of have them movable, I'm going to get me some pipe cleaners. I'm going to fold them up. I'm going to actually stick them in there so I can fold them the way that I want. And I'm probably going to actually just go ahead and stuff these arms like normal. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to stuff these arms. And if you're wanting to work with something this small and stuffing the arms, my suggestion is to stuff a little and get you something fat to start pushing it in there. Okay. Okay. Get another little section and push it in there. Try not to overstuff so that it isn't sitting there and bulging. You don't want it to bulge. Okay. So there is me stuffing my arm, my front leg, and it's pretty much stuffed. And you can see I didn't use a whole lot of stuffing. You really don't need much. Stuffing is kind of an art form. You can stuff too much and you can stuff too little, and you can stuff kind of chunky and everything, but there is a particular method to it. Okay, so that's good enough on its stuffing. Now again, I'm going to personally go in and do some pipe cleaners, and I'll show you how that's done. But otherwise, you can just stuff like I just did this, and then you're going to fold and sew into place. Okay, so I get 4 pipe cleaners, and I twist them together, and I cut them in half, and then I fold the ends down, as you can see here. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is go in here and slide them into the leg. It should go all the way down. Okay, and then I can fold it whatever way I want. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. Where I'm going to feed it in. Here it goes. There. Fed it in. Okay. Now, I've fed my legs in, and when I'm ready, I'll fold them the way I want them folded. Now, we want to add eyes before we start stuffing. Okay. Typically, I think gold is probably a good color. Kind of large. Might be a good idea to add some lids to it. Let's see. See what we think. Alright, so kind of want to go in and see where the center point is here and just pull that in there. I think I like that, so we'll do those eyelids. If you're interested in these kinds of eyes, you want to go to, I believe it's called Eyeglasses Online. It's a South Carolina company. They produce a variety of eyeballs, and I love their company. They ship out fast. They do sell on eBay, and they're just a really good company, and I've been using them since I found them. So, and they do joints, they do noses, they do all kinds of stuff. Here it goes. Sometimes it can be fun to get the eyes on there. Okay. So I like the look of that. And then what you want to do is set up the other side and make sure it comes as close as possible to what you're doing on the other half. Eye in there. There we go. Okay. So now the challenge is getting that other eye about where you want it. So it looks like it would be right about there. And make sure you got it about even. Okay, when you think you have it, go ahead and press this in. Okay. There. Okay. So next, with what we want to do is go ahead and start stuffing the body. And frog's kind of thin, so you don't have to stuff it real firm. As I always say, stuffing is an art form unto itself when finishing up an animal, trying to find that perfect balance of if you haven't enough and that kind of thing. You're going to just sew up the back end here. Alright, so go ahead and start stuffing the upper end of that. And you're probably going to want to eventually cinch the eyes. I'm not going to stuff a whole lot because I've got to set the legs and everything, and it's kind of a thin animal. You don't want to get too much in there. Alright, so we're about ready to start sewing up. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to go in and you want to take and hold on, sorry. and you want to sew up the mouth. So you want to go in and you want to sew up. And you have a long tail here, so you can start here and then you can slide it over and then finish up over here, okay? And so you want to sew that up, okay? And then you'll want to close up the back end, and then we should be ready to do the final finishing touches where we lock the arms into place and we set the legs and we cinch the eyes, okay? So go ahead and sew up the mouth area and sew up the back end, and then we'll be ready to finish up those last touches. Okay, I've sewed up my back end, as you can see here, and I've sewed up my head area. And so what I'm left doing is I usually like to leave me that little last, if I've got a lot, I know I can and do a lot to go in and tack things down. So I'm going to send this through. And you have the option to cinch the eyes or not cinch them, that kind of thing. I think I'm going to leave them as is. So what I'm going to do now is go in and work on getting those front legs where they're not sticking straight out. Okay. And it's okay if it does that. You just go in and you work that polyfill down. Okay. Now, what I like to do is get my legs done. Okay. So what you can do is send that through here, send that through the leg, then send it through the other side and pull it. Send it up a little bit, up through the leg more. Right. And then you can send it back through. It's kind of like cinching eyes. Okay. Okay. Here is where we want to get our leg just right. Okay. Okay. So we go in, we're going to fold it and then fold it. Alright. And then you have to decide if you want to lock those legs in or not. Okay. So if you want to lock them in, you got to decide that. All right. And if you want to lock them in, you need to decide how much you want to lock in. All right. So I think I'm going to lock it in. And then I'm going to take this back to the back, okay, to be able to lock it in. There's my front legs. Now, I like the looks of this, so I think I'll leave the back part loose, alright, and just lock in this section here. So I think I need to take this back a little. Okay. So it's locking it in. So I think I like that, and what I want to do is take and lock these sections together. Okay. And that'll leave you some room to play with the bottom legs. Some. Okay. I'm taking back more, that kind of thing. Alright. So then I'm going to send that through directly across. Pull it tight. And then send it through again. Like that. Okay. So you can see the frog development here. Alright. Now you have one more decision you might want to make, and that's if you want to cinch the eyes or not. You don't have to cinch them heavily, but you may want to cinch them. If you do, you'll need to send the needle up as close to the eye as possible. Okay. There. Alright, and then you send it directly across, close to the top of the eye as possible, and pull it in. You can straighten the eyelid out. And then you go through and then send it through the bottom. Pull it. And then send it through the bottom here. Pull it. And then you need to finish off the head. And lock this down. So I'm going to send it through here to lock it down. Okay. Alrighty. So we locked our legs in, locked our arms in, cinched the eyes. We're ready to go in and knot this off. Just send that through. Send the needle through the loop. Pull it. That knots it off. And then what you can do is just send it through the body. And then pull through. And then you can just snip that end off. Okay. Now, there is your frog. You just sit there and you work on shaping it. And you just play with it and shape it until you have exactly what you want. And that is how you make the frog.